My name is Dan Gustafson for Wayzata.com. I'm here with Johanna McCarthy. Johanna, you're running as an incumbent for City Council here in Wayzata. Tell us just a little bit about yourself, your address, and your family here in Wayzata.
Yeah, so thanks, Dan. Pleasure to be here. I have been a resident of Wayzata for 20 years. I moved here because my husband grew up in Wayzata.
Sure.
The rest of my family lives here. And we live on Walker Avenue, just north of the boulevard. And have two children, 15 and 16 boys, and I'm very excited to be running for the City Council again.
Sure. Your education and your background in that standpoint, tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, well, I originally grew up in Washington, D.C.,
Okay, sure.
But I got my college degree from the College of St. Benedict in St. Joe, and I'm sorry, the second part of your question?
Oh, just your educational background. Johanna.
Oh, sure. So I have a bachelor's in liberal arts, and my work background, I've been a project manager, financial analyst in the public and private sector. I currently work for a technology company based out of Secaucus, New Jersey.
Okay, sure.
It's in the governance, risk, and compliance sector, and I manage national and international teams.
Sounds responsible.
Well, it's a lot of fun, challenging at times, but very rewarding.
Sure. Your government experience, you're an incumbent now, you've served on the council, but what else have you done in government role?
Well, when I first moved to Wayzata and was first married, I joined the Wayzata Fire Department. I was the first woman on the fire department, so that was my first, yay! Incredibly rewarding experience. I served as a firefighter and first responder. I was on the department for 6 years and left after the birth of my first child.
Sure.
And then became an active citizen until I joined the City Council 4 years ago.
Oh, okay, great. How can people get a hold of you if they have questions or concerns? I know you say that your contact information is online, but give it to us here, will you please?
Absolutely. So for all matters that are Wayzata related, they can certainly contact me through the city at Johanna McCarthy at wayzata.org. But the best way to get a hold of me is to call me directly, and they can reach me on my cell phone. I don't have it on me right now, it's in the car.
Right.
But that number is 612-803-3038. And I pride myself on making myself available to all members of the community anytime they need anything or even have a question that they'd like answered. Right
on. Why are you running for council again?
Oh, that's a great question. I apologize. It's the cold weather is making my eyes water a little bit,
yeah,
but
no
you're not making me cry. No worries.
It was a tough question.
Yeah, exactly. I have been just so thrilled by representing the constituents of Wayzata, all members, and I want to continue in that vein. One of the initiatives that I've been working on and been very passionate about is my work with our public safety crews, both fire and police. And the most recent initiative that I've been working on is the Wayzata Police Memorial. And that is going to be situated right behind us. The groundbreaking is in the fall, and the dedication during Police Week next year in 2019. So I've spent the last year and a half to 2 years working with staff and members of the community to create a memorial that is befitting the loss of our two officers. And I'd like to see that through to completion. But there are also a number of times where the community reaches out and they need something. They need representation on the council, and I want to continue being that person.
Sure, great. In your opinion and in your discussion with Wayzata stakeholders, what are the most pressing issues facing Wayzata today?
Well, they're the same issues that I think we faced for quite some time. We have a very engaged community with a tremendous amount of pride in its history and its culture, but it's really maintaining that small town feel. And we are a very popular and sought after location,
No doubt.
undeniably.
Yeah.
And with that comes development, and through that development we want to make sure that we are able to maintain our identity, and that is one that is a connected community that is full of charm. And how do we go about doing that collectively as both a council, a planning commission, and through its citizenry? So those are really important factors that come up in our dialogue. Traffic is another one.
Big deal.
It is a very big deal.
Yeah.
And naturally, as our landscape changes, so do the pressures on the town. So how do we balance that as we move forward?
Sure. What's your vision for the future of Wayzata?
Well, it's really to make sure that we maintain our history and our culture, and that small town feel, the charm that we have, but also making sure that we execute on what the citizens have stated are important to them. And that is, as I've mentioned, the look and feel of Wayzata, but also the walkability and the connectivity that all of our distinct neighborhoods and our downtown core have, and how do we keep improving on that?
Sure. What do you think about the present direction of development and tourism, and particularly I'm talking about Lake Street here and the tourism activity that's going on?
Well, I think it's really exciting, but it's frightening at the same time.
Sure.
We always want to approach on the council a measured development, and especially the west side of Lake Street has been ripe for development for quite some time.
Oh, wow.
And so we have some developments that are going in, and we've been looking carefully at how do we make sure that it is done so in a responsible manner, but also looking at what is currently on the books in terms of our design standards. Does it meet those? Should we challenge the status quo? And the council has worked very hard, especially of late, to see what do we have to offer the community, and how do we work with developers to make sure that we fine-tune what is currently already in place. So a couple of examples with that, our design standards were very prescriptive, and we did not feel that they really captured what Wayzata should be. And that's a small, charming lakeside community.
Sure.
And so pushing the envelope to make sure that we really are thoughtful about the design, the aesthetic, the density, the scale of any type of development application.
Sure.
I think what's really interesting is, when I first moved to Wayzata 20 years ago, and my only day off would maybe be on a Sunday to spend time with family and friends, and
Right.
I'd go down to Lake Street, and it was quiet. There was nobody.
You could kick a can down Lake Street 20 years ago. 20
You
years ago.
absolutely could, and in a way it was sad, because our community had so much to offer, but nobody was there to enjoy it. When I then look forward to 2008, 2009, when the recession hit, we were really at a juncture where it was very concerning of where the direction of the town was going. Since that time, we've had business that has come into town. It's been very successful.
Yep.
It has brought visitors and the community together, and there is a vibrancy that we haven't had for a very long time, and I think it speaks very well to our future.
Right on. Residents in some areas, I borrowed this question from a competitor. Residents in some areas have been calling for more transparency and information on how tax dollars are spent. How would you respond?
Well, I I think there's certainly a lot of information out there. You know, we try very hard, and over time we have gotten better as a city in terms of communicating that information. And we do so in a number of different ways, through our website, certainly staff for people who have questions to call, through our portal, through a number of different mechanisms, through our meetings that are televised. But we're also very receptive to, maybe it's not in a manner in which that is understandable, or maybe, you know, it's too much information and it's not being pushed
simplified,
out. Yeah, you know, so I think it's really important for people, if they really do have a concern or if they don't understand, to reach out, and be it to a council member, be it to staff, and to have those conversations and suggestions for how we can continue to improve. Our website has a lot of information, but it's not necessarily always searchable. So we're always looking to push the envelope of how we can make it better, because we are stewards of our community, and we represent the citizenry. And if we're not doing a good job, we want to hear about it and explore ways that we can improve.
Sure. Last question for you, Johanna. If you could wave a magic wand and change one thing about Wayzata and didn't have to garner any support from anybody else, what would that be?
Oh, well, that's a really tough question, because, you know, I think collectively we do a really nice job of keeping the dialogue open. I don't have one specific thing that I would change. That's a great question. I don't know.
I didn't know I was going to stump you today.
Well, you know, I'm going to take that back. I have, one of the things that I've been hearing considerably is, and it did change our community, I think, considerably, and that's when our highway came through town. And as development has increased, not just in Wayzata, but further west, traffic and noise has impacted, certainly along the highway corridor, considerably.
Sure.
If I could wave a magic wand, I would try and find a solution to mitigate some of the noise pollution that we get from the highway. That's a really challenging prospect for us, because we're a bit at the mercy of MnDOT for those types of things.
It's it's a very challenging prospect.
It is, and very expensive. We've had multiple conversations with MnDOT, and the community's pretty divided when it comes to that. There's no easy solution. So balancing that transportation need and that corridor with how it splits our community physically, but also the impact that it has is a challenging prospect to have to contend with. But if I could wave a magic wand,
that would be it.
That would be it.
Fair enough.
Yes.
Well, Johanna, thank you for joining me. I appreciate your time very much. And we'll post this online, and people will be able to view it, and hope you have a great rest of your Sunday.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure.
Yep.